Okay, so the hardest part of love is the letting go. So let me just tell you a moment about Children of Eden. It's a song that it's a story that Stephen Schwartz wrote about the Bible, and it's about from the spark of creation, from the beginning of time, all the way through to Jesus. And what he talks about at the top of there's a song called the Father's Song. It's called Father's Day, and it's about how there is this. Of course, it's the Bible, so it's the Old Testament, so it's stories about how creation began, and that in this story, as the Bible tells us, there is a father. Now, for them, it was in the sky, but think about this in metaphysical terms. There's a father whose spark of creation puts that into its son, and then the son gets to live by choice, free from the father. So Stephen Schwartz writes a lot of songs about fathers and sons. So the first thing I want to do today is ask you to bring your earth father, your biological father, to mind. And I just want to give you a second to bring your biological father. And if you didn't have a biological father that you know of, bring whoever was that father figure to you. Bring that person to mind. Okay? Now, you may have a good relationship with that man. You may have what you would consider a not so good relationship with that man. You may have a challenging relationship with that man. Doesn't really matter. What I'd like you to do now is to find one word, pick one word that defines your relationship with your father. And that means where you are now. So just pick one word. How would you, if you were going to globally find a word that identifies your relationship with your father, what would that word be? I'm just going to ask you, just if you feel comfortable, just tell me what that word is, just one at a time. Open. Well, I'm sorry, what? Resolved. Forgiveness. Supportive, connected. Unsettled. Loving. What? Safe. Consistent. Empty. Love. Grateful. Peaceful. Proud. Distant. Disappointing. What? Love. Mine would be clear. I have great clarity about my relationship with my father. And it took 60 years to be able to stand here and say, I am very clear that my father did the very best he could possibly do with what he had to do it with, and from whence he came. And just knowing who he was and knowing the father he had, the grandfather I had, I'm pretty clear on all of it. You know, and metaphysically speaking, our job really is, as divine beings, to step back, look at everything impersonally, and then really get an understanding of it. So if there's any of you today that is still sitting here with unresolved, or with words that you don't like, if you don't like that your relationship to your father, your earthly father, your biological father, or the man who was most prominent in your life, if you don't like that the word you have for that is unsettled or distant or mean, or whatever word you may come up with that you don't like, I'm telling you today, there's a way to change that. There is a way for you to be in better relationship to that word. And that's really all we're talking about. Because that's what Stephen Schwartz writes about in The Children of Eden. That the father inside of us, that thing inside of me, that is the father instinct, the creative pulse of who I am, is always, always evolving, always growing, always loving, because that's what that spark is. It's just love. And that father energy is just love. It's a creative energy. And you may have a hard time thinking of your father and love in the same sentence. I did for many, many years. I had such an opinion of my father that did not serve me. And you know what? I used to think it doesn't serve him, but I don't think he cared. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think my father, one of the things he really did teach me was, if you spend your life caring about what everyone else thinks about you, you are in for a hell of a ride. Because no matter how great you are, someone's going to have a problem with you. Does anybody find that? So our job is to have a great relationship to this relationship we have with the Father energy. So there's a line in the song, and it's this: just when we seem to find ourselves is when you think we're lost. And it's the Son. I did it this way for the Son singing to the Father. Just when I find myself, you think I'm lost. Now, I would like you to turn this now away from the one man, the personalized understanding of Father, and take it to yourself. Because one of the most important parts of this teaching is that you are Father to every single one of your ideas in life. You are Father to everything in you that wants to birth. You are Father, that creative energy, to everything in you that is ready to just come forth. And then, once you allow that to happen, the song is brilliant. You got to let go. You have to be willing to let go and allow it. So, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. There is that within you, there is that within me that just knows. It knows how to do what it wants to do, and it has ideas and desires. How many of you today have some desire in you, something you want to do in life that you haven't done yet? Anybody have anything they haven't done yet? Okay, if you're alive in this room, and most of you seem to be, then there is something in you that wants to birth itself. And I don't care if you tell me that, oh my God, nothing, I'm so happy. Okay, then you don't understand that life is an evolution. No matter how happy you are, no matter how wonderful your life is, no matter how much you have, which has nothing to do with this, there is still more. There has to be more. Because this Father energy, this creative energy inside of us is always evolving. It's always changing. So one of the things that is so difficult for us as divine human beings is this understanding that everything's going to change. And if everything's going to change, then we have to stop trying to keep everything in place. We have to stop trying to hold on. I had a great example of this when I went off to Toronto to do the conference, and when I came back, my beautiful son shaved his head. I wanted his old hair cut back. I did not want him to change. I gave birth to him. He should have the hair I choose. But that's also what we think about our dreams and our desires. This is what I want, and it should be this way, period. I birthed it. I gave life to this. It's the way I want it. And the universe is saying, oh no, because we're shaving its head. I know you like his hair to look exactly like yours, but the head is shaved. And then he came back over, and he said, Dad, he was at his mom's that week, and he came over and he said, I need to borrow your razor. I got to shave my head again. And I was like, I could withhold the razor. But he'd just go buy another one. He'd figure out a way to do it if he wanted to do it. So that's what our ideas are doing. That's what our dreams are doing. That's what our desires are doing inside of us, looking for a way. And what are we doing? We are putting blocks in front of them. The title of my talk today is Letting Go of What No Longer Serves Me. Letting go of what no longer serves me. So give some thought just today, right now. What is going on in your mind that is no longer serving you? Where are you poorly parenting yourself? Exactly. Where are you parenting yourself into the grave? Where are you fathering yourself with so many rules and restrictions? How many of you grew up with a very restrictive father? I grew up with a cop as a father. He was a cop. My uncles were cops. Everybody was cops. It was a police state I lived in. I really did. To leave the dinner table, you had to say, may I leave the table, sir? I don't think I even notice when my kids have left the table. They just leave. I have to go get them to tell them, could you clean the dishes? But not in my house. It was, may I leave the table, sir? And it was like, yes, you may. And then it had to be, thank you, sir. And then you'd get up, clean everything off, and then go. It literally was that way. And I have to say, this is the way they were brought up. My dad was raised by a fire chief battalion leader. Not the whole battalion. Right? So my dad was raised by this little cop, by this little fireman. And he was only like 5'6", Frank Mellon. He was like 5'6", and my grandmother was like 5'10" and 300 pounds. They were an interesting couple. So my father was raised by them. She was like love on a stick, and he was the stick. Really? If I had to think about that now. Wow, okay. That's not what I meant, but... So there is a parenting skill that we have evolved into. How we raise ourselves is what I'm talking about today. How we raise our dreams and our desires, the restrictions we put on them, and the restrictions we put on them that we don't even know we're putting on them. And do you know what restrictions I'm talking about? I'm talking about your beliefs. Your beliefs are the very restrictions that is literally keeping your dreams at bay. You know, I'm in the day 21 of CPR right now, which means everyone in CPR became legal today. 21 days. It takes 21 days to create a habit in your mind. If you do something consistently for 21 days, you will have developed a habit. And the more you do it, the deeper that habit becomes. So how many habits do you think you have literally designed and created in your life around the way you do things? Those habits are your parents. Those habits are parenting you. They are in place, and they basically tell you how you live your life. They tell you how you do something, why you do something, where you do something. So the only way to get in there and reparent yourself, the only way to really become clear on how you are fathering your dreams, your desires, is to get in there and find out what's the energy around these ideas. When I was putting this talk together, I had this big emotional moment. And I was sitting at my desk, and what I do now is I write out what all the ideas that come to me, and then I just throw them away and see what sticks. But I'll tell you, there was a moment that I was sitting there writing, and I just got all emotional. Because there's a part of me, anybody else, if you see a story about a father and a son, you just lose it. I'm the only one? It's interesting. So, anytime there is a movie or a TV show and a father-son story comes up, I am a basket. And so nowadays when that happens, and it just happened to me last week, I literally had to go, okay, enough of the random emotions that come up every time a father-son story comes along. What's it about? And what I've come to understand is it's this. There is an emotional field inside of us that comes with every idea, every desire. There is an emotional longing to be expressed. And it is what we talk in Science of Mind, the masculine energy, the creative energy, the father energy. And it comes with emotion. And Ernest Holmes says that the feeling around something is what creates its success in life. How much feeling do you have with it? So we had a wedding to go to last night, and it was right across the street from our house. Two of our dearest friends in the world, their youngest son got married. And I married their oldest son, but their younger son wanted a kind of a more hip wedding. So he had two TV stars marry him. And it was really great. It was awesome. And the two of them were just amazing. Adam Shapiro and Katie Lowe's. They were just amazing. To watch one of the stars of Sense8 on Netflix and one of the stars of Scandal marrying him. It was just awesome. But they asked me to do a blessing and asked me to please keep it to 1 minute. So... But they had 7 blessings, and they all had to keep it to 1 minute. So my blessing, and of course they picked the 7 blessings, and they said, we'd like you to do spirit. I was like, is that just because I'm a minister, I have to do spirit? They said, yeah. So I did spirit. And as I looked it up, as I was thinking, okay, how do I say something in a minute? I'm not used to speaking at such a short interval. I was like, how can I say this in a minute? But I did, because it was so simple. I looked up the word spirit. And spirit, coming from spiritus in Latin, means to express. Well, I thought, how perfect. This is Express Yourself Month. And I've been asked to speak for 1 minute in a condensed version of what does it mean to express. And I really started to think about this idea of express yourself. This is what we're doing this month. Are you all doing well with that? Yeah. Because I'm loving this idea of expressing myself. And expressing myself from, and this is what's so important, spirit, the spirit of something is the authentic element of something, the authentic essence of something. When you do something in the spirit of this, you're doing it in the essence of something. So you and I, we each have within us an authentic expression that we call spirit. That's what spirit is. You know, it's not religion. It's not about religion and religiosity. It's not about any of that. It's just that essence inside of you, that authentic essence inside of you. And as I talked about last week, our ability to drop everything, to drop it all, to drop all the trappings that we use, the clothes, the makeup, all the stuff. When we got home last week, Kevin said, you know, today when you asked everybody how they'd feel if they let go of their makeup, he said, I'd like to ask you how you would feel if you let go of your hair product. And I looked at him and I went, not happening. No. And I tried. One day I tried, and I looked like Dondi. Just everything was like this. So, Dondi. Not Gandhi, Dondi. Does everybody know who Dondi is? Remember the cartoon character? Yeah. And now we all know who's what age in this room. So, if we're willing to let go of all those trappings, all that stuff, then there is a spiritual nature to us. So what if spiritual is just authentic? When we say spiritual, all we mean is authentic. My spiritual nature. So people talk about, oh, you're feeling very spiritual today. No, it's not about I'm spiritual when I come to church. I'm spiritual when I meditate. I'm spiritual. No, if you are authentic, you are spiritual. Because that's what it means, the essence of something, the real essence of something. So here we are celebrating Father's Day. I think we get caught up in the trappings of thinking it's about fathers. Fathers meaning people. And yet the essence, the authentic essence, the spirit of Father's Day would really mean that energy inside each and every one of us that has the capacity to create whatever life we want to create. We're here to be audacious this month, right? It is audacious for me to stand here and say to you, you have the power within you to create anything you want to create because you are that power. I saw online this week a quote that said, there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and it can use you. And I was like, no! First of all, as soon as you say there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, you've diminished yourself. You have and I know Ernest Holmes said this early on in his life of ministry. But to say there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, for me, it diminishes exactly what Ernest Holmes came here to teach. He came here to teach you are it. There is a power for good in the universe, and you are it. So use it and be it. That's where we've evolved to. That's the way we need to father this teaching. Yes. We need to tell this teaching, you have the right to be the next step. You have the right to be the next journey. You have the right. So it is audacious for me to stand here. If you were all my children and General Hospital put together, I heard it as I said it. I was like, wow, okay. If you were all of my children, right? If I've lost any of you, I'm sorry. If you are all of my children, I would want to say to you as a father, you have everything you need. And I tell this to my children. You are poised to create whatever life you want to create. You don't need anything. You just have to reveal the truth of who you are. Be spirit. Be the essence of your authentic self. If you were all of my children, I would want to tell you, go do it. Have at it. You have permission to go out and be and do and express whatever you want to express. And there is that in you that is saying that to you. Now, those of us who are fathers and mothers, you know what, and friends, we know that how we feel when we look at someone. Don't you ever have that moment where you look at someone? I mean, I look at Glenn Morshower, and I just see a man who is always doing what he wants to be doing. And yet I also know there's more for Glenn Morshower. And I want to tell him that. I want to say there are even more incredible roles to play. There are greater places to be, greater things to do. And that's what we should be telling one another. Laurie Savage, you brought such a beautiful thing to us last week with Nepal, and you created such success out of it. And yet, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to do, more to be. Every single one of you. If I were your father, I would look you in the face and say to you, you are loved. You are loved. And as love, you have the capacity to do whatever you choose to do with your life. And you know what? That's audacious. I'm finding more and more just how audacious it is when I see more and more what other people are teaching and what other religions are purporting. That you don't have that, and you have to wait, and some have and some don't. And there's a God somewhere telling you whether or not you can. And I'm telling you, you better spend 21 days getting rid of that paradigm and creating the new habit that there's no one anywhere telling you no. So, if today is about letting go of what's holding you back, it very well may be that you just never knew that you were the father to your own soul. Or that you just never knew that you were spiritual every single moment of your life. Because that's the essence of who and what you are. And maybe you didn't know that you were a choice, and that you could decide a different path, and that you could look at something and say, this is not who I am. And step back from it, have a better relationship to it, understand it in a much deeper, higher way, and then be able to let it go. Because the hardest part of love, as Stephen Schwartz says, is the letting go. Because we want to just grab something and hold on to it. And we definitely want to do that to our children. We want to take them and save them and make them okay. And I'm scared as hell to let him out into the world. And her too. More him. But it does get scary when Karen Mitchell got up here and, it was Karen talking about her son Joe going off. And then when Johanna got up and talked about her son going off out into the world. Don't you get it? But we're the same way with our dreams. We're afraid to let them go. We're afraid to let them go into the world. We don't know what someone's going to do with them. We don't know whether they're going to succeed or not. Well, guess what? Every dream succeeds. Every single thing that you put your mind into and you say yes, it must manifest exactly the way it is best to manifest. That's the truth. So we got to stop being afraid of our children. We have to stop being afraid to let go. We have to stop worrying about what's going to happen and start getting behind the understanding that life will always unfold for my highest and my best. So I'm going to go back. I'd like you to bring your father forward again, your earthly father, the man, whoever it was. Bring him into your mind. Now I'd like you to choose the word you would like to be in relationship with, whatever that word is. And for me, that word is love. It's one thing to be clear, but if I'm clear, can I now let it all go and just love this man? Especially when I came up with the phrase, love only. Forgive everything. Remember who you are, which also includes remember who they are. So pick the word you want. Start today to father your mind in such a way that you are cultivating your garden. You are creating what you want to be in relationship to. And you are creating the way you want to be in relationship to that. Nothing is stuck to you. You are not stuck in any relationship to anyone on this planet. Your mind is clear and clean and free, and you are a choice. So today, choose how you want to be in relationship to yourself, to your Father, and to the universe at large. For me, it's love. Love only. Just going to give you a breath. Take a deep breath. Let me bring Karen up here and the band back. Just sit with this for a moment. And Barbara. Yes. I would like to sing this next song right at the end of this talk so that it can just flow right into this energy, this understanding.
When Gary Lynn Floyd wrote this song, the idea was that this is a new thought version of the Lord's Prayer. So it all ties in beautifully.
What I know is that there is the essence of love, the essence of truth, the essence of pure spirit at the soul of each and every one of us, and at the soul of each and every person on this planet, and beyond, I would imagine. And that when we tap into that, we father a consciousness that literally understands one another from such a primal place that there is peace on earth, because there is peace in mind. This is what I know, and I'm so grateful to know this, so grateful to be a part of an evolution of new thought that takes this teaching to an even deeper place, to a higher level of consciousness. And I just let it go and let it be so, as together we all say, and so it is. Okay.